we are not in the studio here today in this video because there is some work being done, and we are going to change up the scenery of the studio just a little bit. But regardless of that, we have some things to talk about. We are heading into a very important week because dun 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 dun, it is the first week of earnings season, baby, for Q1 2022. Can't believe it's already over. We're heading into earnings season, kind of crazy, but we're going to get some high flyer earnings that will affect the markets either positively or negatively, and we need to talk about that because it will affect SoFi stock. It seems like every day we are hitting all-time new lows, and it's something we must talk about here on this channel. So if you guys find value out of this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for tuning in here every single day and supporting the channel. I hope this information provides you guys a way to make money or just a good opinion overall. That's the only thing that I really strive for here on this channel. But nonetheless, let's get to it. So SoFi stock did close Friday at $7.26 per share, down 3 cents in after hours, or down about 0.41% here in after hours. And that's pretty much what happened across the board, across the whole entire stock market. The S&P 500 was up 0.01% in after hours, but that is very minuscule. It's very negligible, right? So we really didn't get a clear sentiment of what is going to happen on Monday, but the markets were down quite substantially overall on Friday, with the Nasdaq closing down 2.14%, Russell 2000 down 0.99%, S&P down 1.21%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average down 0.33%. Now, a lot of this is anticipation of the upcoming earnings for this week, but a lot of last week's move that we actually did see was based around the options market because we seen a major option expiration that was on Friday, and it was on Thursday, and it was a short week. So all eyes are going to be on earnings because, like I've talked about a couple times here on this channel, the only thing the markets really revolve around is news, right? Fear and greed and fundamentals. You could kind of categorize news, fear, and greed in the same category, but the main thing is going to be fundamentals. Now, how do the fundamentals look for the stock market? How do they look for the economy? Well, that's a very interesting question, and I think you'll get some varying opinions depending on who you ask. But the way that I look at it is you've seen a real expansion to the economy over the past 2 years. People were flooded with funny money left and right on a weekly basis with the unemployment boost, child tax credit, unemployment, just extra unemployment, right? Or stimulus checks. People have been flooded with money. So companies have had record earnings over the past 2 years. And this could be, hopefully not, the first quarter that earnings actually start to go down in a meaningful way. Now, I think the markets are expecting this just a little bit. But if you really start to get some bad earnings by a couple of these names that we are going to talk about here in just a minute, then the markets could react very negatively. Now, for SoFi stock, it's a little bit different, and some earnings are going to be important to SoFi, like Square and PayPal, and we're going to get into all of this in just 1 second. But a lot of the stocks like SoFi, like Fubo TV, like DraftKings, stocks that I am personally invested in, keep hitting new all-time lows, and that will eventually end. And I think SoFi is very close to seeing that bottom. I said this a day or two ago. I thought SoFi was already at its bottom. We hit a new all-time low. So we are getting close, ladies and gentlemen. I think at these prices, SoFi is just a steal of a deal either way. And that's kind of what you see from insiders. Hedge funds, institutions, they keep buying the stock. We've talked about it many times. Go ahead and watch the last video. We looked at the charts. I mean, the institutional ownership went from 25 million shares of SoFi stock in August 2021, now at almost 450 million shares. That is a dramatic increase. That's an over 20x increase, almost a 25x increase in the amount of shares institutional investors own of SoFi stock. But what is going on? Well, SoFi is not in the best category of the economy, right? For this market environment, rates are going up. Investors expect that SoFi stock will have less demand because of that, right? SoFi is not necessarily profitable, so it's a good reason to short the stock, and that is exactly what has happened for SoFi, which we will also look at the Ortex data here in just 1 second. But as far as earnings are concerned for this upcoming week, We have a lot of bank stocks on Monday. That could move SoFi stock. I don't really expect anything too crazy out of that. The big earnings on Tuesday will be Netflix and IBM. Those will be very important and kind of dictate the sentiment for the markets. Like we seen last earnings where Netflix dropped like 20%, the markets were not so favorable that day. It was a very red day. So we'll see if we can see a turnaround there. I don't really expect another 20% drop because that's what we got last earnings, and I don't think investors are looking very highly upon Netflix at this current moment. Now on Wednesday, you get Tesla. And that's going to be the most important earnings on Wednesday. And I think those numbers will be good. But it really comes down to guidance. How does Tesla, Netflix guide? And that's really the curveball factor here. Something we don't know is how are these companies going to say the consumer is? How are they going to say demand is? Because that's very important. The markets really only care about two things right now. They care about the Fed balance sheet, how they're going to reduce that balance sheet, because that directly affects interest rates. When the Fed gets rid of their balance sheet or sells bonds, right, treasuries, it drives the rates up, which makes your auto loans, home loans, credit card loans, everything more expensive. So that's really the main focus. But company earnings and guidance are right behind that. That's going to be second because people are concerned, how is the consumer doing? And we really haven't had too many red flags as far as the consumer is spending less money or the consumer is slowing down. But we're going to have to wait and see exactly how it does play out for this week. On Thursday, you do have Snapchat earnings. You have American Airlines. You have Union Pacific. You have a couple different sectors, some of the energy sector as well. Next era energy. So you're going to get multiple different sectors of the economy that do report this week. And depending on what that earnings looks like, depending on what the guidance looks like, that's how the markets are really going to move. Now, the next week, not this week, but the next week is where you start to get a lot more earnings that could really affect SoFi in a meaningful way. On Monday, not this Monday, not tomorrow, but next Monday, Coca-Cola, Activision. And then on Tuesday, Microsoft, Google, UPS, Visa, 3M. On Wednesday, Facebook, PayPal, Ford, Qualcomm, Spotify, Teladoc. On Thursday, Apple, Amazon, Twitter, Intel, Roku, Robinhood, Caterpillar, Nokia, Southwest Airlines. And then on Friday, you have a lot of oil companies like ExxonMobil, Chevron, Phillips 66, and a couple others in there. And that's going to be very, very important. Now, the week after that is really where you get Block as well. Now, PayPal and Block or Square, whatever you want to call it, those are going to be the ones that are really important for SoFi because they're in the same sector. And then all the way down here, you're looking at May 10th. That's when you have SoFi earnings. So you're going to get PayPal, not this week. Again, next week on Wednesday, you'll get PayPal. And then the following week after that, the 5th, May 5th, you'll get Block. And those are going to be the two earnings that are very, very important to SoFi stock. Overall, though, SoFi has fallen a lot. So I do expect a bounce here very shortly. And it wouldn't surprise me to see these first earnings start to come in decent and to see a rally based off of that. Like, it would not surprise me. I expect Snapchat to have good earnings. I expect Tesla to have good earnings, and Netflix is the oddball there, but I do think Netflix earnings will be good considering they did drop 20%. So I'm kind of forecasting a bullish week for the markets overall. I could be right, I could be wrong. This is not financial advice. Do not base your investments based off of what I am saying. But I really think the week after this week is going to be more so the shaky week. I'm not so bullish on Apple, not so bullish on Amazon, not so bullish on Facebook, pretty bullish on Google and Microsoft, but Apple, you got to remember, is 7% of the S&P 500. So it's going to be very important what Apple does have to say. Not this week, but next week. As far as SoFi and the Ortex data, you're looking at 19.86% short interest of free float, 143.07 million shares that are sold short, utilization of 100%, and days to cover sitting at 3.14. As far as the option activity for last week, that was 51% positive order value on Friday, 9 orders totaling $10.89 million. I keep saying Friday, but it was really Thursday because the markets were closed on Friday. As far as 1 week, 63% positive order value, 82 orders totaling $27.31 million. So even over the last week, as SoFi stock continues to hit new all-time lows, the positive order value was still positive, was still over 50% positive orders that were heading into SoFi. And a lot of the large orders are actually the January 2024 and January 2023 options that are coming in. So I think that's a bullish sign, obviously, for the long term. You've seen a lot of put action, though, for the next coming strike. So I think that kind of sends us a signal. But again, we'll have to wait and see exactly how that does play out. As far as the max pain on SoFi stock for this week, if you guys don't know, the max pain is where the largest amount of money will expire worthless. The largest amount of option holders will lose the most amount of money. That is at $8 per share by this upcoming Friday, and that would suggest a slight bounce from where we're currently sitting at these lows, right, of $7.23 per share. So all in all, I expect this week to be kind of bullish overall for earnings. I don't really expect anything too negative, but it could be. It could be. Now, if it's not as bad as what it could be, then I think SoFi stock, I think the markets will bounce back in a pretty dramatic way until the week after this week. And then you're likely to see some things get pretty bad in the markets. So that is basically going to be all for this video. As far as the technical levels on SoFi stock, $5 per share, that's the downside level to be watching. The upside level is $10 per share, and we're right in the middle of that. Like I said, $7 per share. It could go either way, but I would expect a bounce back up, towards $9, $10 per share before we see a drop all the way down to $5 per share. Overall, it's going to be a crazy week, first week of earnings season, and this is really going to set the tone for how the markets are going to feel heading into the large earnings week. Not this week, but next week. I think it's going to be pretty crazy. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment sections, comments, questions, or concerns. Leave that down there. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.